There's a warning for every church in Jeremiah chapter 5. God tells Jeremiah to find at least one godly man. And Jeremiah says, obviously, the poor aren't godly, or they wouldn't be poor. And then in verse 5, he looks at the rich and finds out that they are just as ungodly as everyone else. And in verse 6 comes the warning, because God says he will destroy them. He says he'll destroy them with a lion, a wolf, and a leopard. Well, in Daniel chapter 7, we know that the lion is a reference to Babylon that destroys Judah. And the leopard is probably a reference to Alexander Great and the Greeks. But who is the wolf? Well, Jesus says in John 10, verse 12, that the wolf is coming to kill the sheep. The wolf is Satan. You see, our enemy is not a gospel preaching church. Our enemy is not a church that says Jesus is God and always was God, and his death on the cross is the only substitution for our sin. Our enemy is not a church that preaches the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ. Our enemy is Satan. And Satan doesn't hate us. Satan hates God. And what he wants to do is get into a church and get it so confused doctrinally, get it so confused morally, or just get it so comfortable with all the wealth that they have that they stop preaching and declaring the good news that Jesus saves to anyone, rich or poor, white or black. So what should a church do? Well, man, we should stand up and decry moral sin. Verse 7 of Jeremiah 5, he says that, how shall I pardon this? And he goes on to say what they've done to their children. They've taught them to commit adultery. And then he says they have run like an army of troops to harlot's house, to prostitutions. He said, you have done such a poor job teaching the next generation that they are involved in all sorts of immoral sin. Satan is winning the next generation. They think right is wrong and wrong is right. In verse 8, he says, they are well-fed, lusty stallions, each neighing at his neighbor's wife. Look, everyone makes mistakes, but we are in a perverse, immoral society. How can they ever repent if there are certain issues or topics or sins we tippy-toe around and refuse to talk about? What this generation needs is a church that will love them, but a church that will stand up and say, come back to God, come home. You will be forgiven by Jesus if first you repent. But how can they repent if we're too afraid of offending them and they take their money? Your community needs a gospel lighthouse.